Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we will be meeting with Bev Standing, who is a connection of mine through LinkedIn. We've had a chance to get to know each other a little bit, and I wanted to take the opportunity today to introduce her to everyone so you can get to know her as well. With that, Bev, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Brianne. This is great talking in person instead of just over the computer back and forth.
Mhm.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining. My name is Bev Standing, and I am a voiceover actor or voiceover talent or voiceover artist, however you'd like to call it. We have many titles. And I work from home and provide voiceovers for a variety of different genres, from commercials, which are the ones you'd hear on TV or radio, to e-learning, to telephony when you call a company and you get their answering machine or their on-hold messaging, or interactive messaging when, for example, you call banks and they ask you to push one and put in your code and all those sort of things, to YouTube videos. Oh, the list goes on and on and on, to game apps, to little toy voices, video games, you name it. There's a huge world out there, and that's what I am and what I do.
Awesome. You know, it's funny when we first connected via audio, I was like, oh, she has a great voice. So it makes sense that you're a voiceover artist.
Yeah, and that's what people say. Wow, I have a great voice. I could do that, and possibly they could.
Yes. So
but
tell
there's
me a little
more
bit.
to it than that.
Yes, of course there is, of course. You know, and it's funny. I do voiceover all the time because, I create e-learning courses. But I'll tell you, even though I record my voice several times a week, I don't have professional training, and it doesn't sound nearly as good as someone who does. So I will definitely put that out there. If you're in a situation where you can afford to have a voiceover artist, go with it, because it's going to be way better than anything you could ever create yourself. So that's definitely
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what got you into doing voiceover? Kind of like, what is your story here?
Well, I have a pretty interesting story. So sit down, grab your coffee or tea. 10 years ago, my husband passed away, and as horrible as that was, and it's part of life and you learn to go through it, my big thing was I didn't want to be sitting at home doing nothing and being sad all the time. So what would have been my wedding anniversary without him for the first time, I decided to take a course. I thought, let's just be busy. And at the time, I was a construction inspector. Interesting, I worked for a multidisciplinary engineering firm, and I loved what I did. I'd been associated with the company for 30 some odd years, and I just decided to take a course. And the course I took was a voiceover workshop in downtown Toronto. It was called, the company was called VoiceWorks, and it was a weekend, Friday night, all day Saturday, and part of Sunday course. And I have no idea, honestly, I have no idea why I took it, but I took it. And for me, what happened was, even though I really didn't know anything about the industry, I found out down the road that I actually had a huge background for this from other jobs I'd held in my youth. But more importantly for me is that when you do what I do, you are in fact acting, and you have to block out the rest of the world. And I guess it's like any job. You have to be focused and doing what you're doing in the moment and not worrying about what groceries I have to pick up, or, does the babysitter have to leave early, or anything about life. You have to focus on what you're reading and be totally involved. So for me, that meant I couldn't be sad. I had to be the person I had to be with the script in front of me. So at the end of the weekend, I thought, wow, this was really healing for me, that it gave my heart time to breathe, I guess is the best way to put it, that I didn't focus on being sad and didn't focus on much. I just focused on the words in front of me. And from that, I ended up taking Second City Improv down in downtown Toronto. I started taking acting classes. I took some more voiceover workshops. And down the road, here I am now, a full-time voice actor. For me, it was something just to keep busy, but it turned into an opportunity to get hired. And from that, I just let the world take over and lead me down this path. It's been wonderful.
So, a lot of people, when they would have thought of something to keep them busy, would not have thought at all about doing voiceover or, anything like that, or even taking that type of a class. What interested you? What attracted you to do that?
Surprisingly, nothing. I was mic shy. Um, now, I had wanted to be a professional dancer all my life. My dad was an advertising executive, and I had watched commercials being made. I worked for CBC Radio as a production assistant, which is the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, for a few years, and I just kept learning on the way. If my job was, idle, I'd say, hey, can I help you do something? And I'd learn all these different things. So when I saw this voiceover workshop, I thought, I don't even know what that means. But one person had said, just do it. So I thought, what have I got to lose? It wasn't a lot of money. And I thought, just do it. Just get me out of the house for a couple of days. I'm just going to do it. And I hit register. I really don't know why I did it. It's weird to say because I didn't used to believe in fate and all these things, but I'm questioning that now.
Yeah, that's really interesting, like the things of our youth that we go back to, and your connection with your dad and everything. I grew up on a farm, and my parents said, I went to college and everything, and my parents said, you didn't want to be a farmer, and I said, well, it's always a backup career.
Yeah.
So, so tell me a little bit about your life before voiceover work. You said you were a construction inspector. Um, has you stopped working there, or did you continue while you were doing the classes? Like, what was the story there?
Oh, absolutely. So I was working full time as a construction inspector, and I had two children. They're both living at home with me, but at college, one in college and one in university. And I had to keep working. So this was just, my kids were busy and I needed to keep doing something, and the classes were pretty much on the weekends, so it gave me something to do. So I just kept taking classes. And when the first opportunity came for me to actually get a job, I was able to do it at night and on weekends. So I would have this little very amateur setup with pillows and blankets and a fairly inexpensive microphone. And I stopped in one day at a store and talked to the guy about what I was trying to do. And he set me up with a mic and all the interface that you need, and a set of speakers, and said, good luck kind of thing. And I went home and I looked on the internet and I contacted a couple of friends that I had been studying with and was able to actually get hired for some very small voiceover jobs. But again, I was able to tell my clients through email that I can get it to you within 24 hours. So I was able to produce it at night and send it on. And you learn as you go. It's like anything. If somebody said to you, here's Microsoft Word, learn it. You learn as you need to know things. So I was able to learn my editing that way. I had somebody give me an editing program and some very basic tools, and you just plug along. And I spent many nights and weekends, and it kept me extremely busy, but I kept working full time. I've only been doing this 4 years full time when I just couldn't keep up with client demand for voice work. So that was the cue for me to give it a shot. Now, luckily, because as I said, I was in construction, I was able to take a leave of absence. They knew I was doing this full time or part time, and I said, I just want to try and see if I can, increase my jobs and my income from this part time job during the winter when you really don't need me as much. And they agreed to that. So I took a 3-month leave of absence and resigned 6 weeks later.
Wow.
My job just took off. I was pretty lucky. I look at it as lucky. I was doing all
Yeah.
the right things, and I think that's why I agreed for the interview, because there's a lot more than just having a good voice to running your own business.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, well, and surprisingly, I was doing all things that were right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I still work full time on top of running my business
Hmm.
because I can't sit still. But yeah, running your own business, it's awesome. I mean, you get to pick the strategy, you get to you be your own boss. I mean, I love it. So
Well,
that's
you know what they say, when you run your own business, you get to pick which 16 hours a day you work.
that's so true.
But it's
So
true. I mean, if I have to run out to the store to get milk, I can.
yep,
And I don't have to tell anybody that's what I'm doing,
right, exactly. Yep, and
which is which
working
is
from
nice.
home and being able to, you know, yeah. So I think it's funny that you work from home, and people always say, well, how can you be productive at home? But really, I mean, you get so much more done at home because you don't have the commute time.
I agree. Not everybody looks at it that way, though. I know
No,
many people that say, oh, you work from home, that's great. You know, you can get your housework done. But I look at it as like, no, I have a job, and I get up
right.
in the morning, and I have my coffee or whatever your morning, routine is, and then I start working.
Mhm.
And many a day, I work through my lunch. I don't
Oh,
get a
absolutely.
lunch break. And
Mhm.
if I'm sitting after dinner, and this is, I guess, a bit of a downfall, but if I'm sitting after dinner and watching TV with my husband, I would go, oh, wait a minute, a client needs me.
Mhm.
And it's like, at the beginning, it was like, seriously, you just worked 10 hours. I said, I know, but he's in Germany, or he's in
Right.
California and it's only 5 o'clock there, or, whatever the time frame is, because
Mhm.
I work from home, but I work internationally.
Right.
So
Right.
you
Yeah, and
have
for
to work. So that can be a detriment to finding free
it
time.
can be. Yeah, certainly. And my thing is like, I work all day, but then
Yeah.
usually I'm working all night too. Like I can't stop because well, I'm like, well, at night I can do my marketing, and during the day I can meet with clients, and and it's just, you know, like you said, I'd love to have like that scheduler, so I make sure that I stay on top of my schedules and all that stuff. But sometimes I'm a one man shop for the most part, so I do have a graphic designer that I work with, on smaller projects, but for the most part, I work alone, so I'm a one man shop, and it's you have to be flexible so that you can get everything done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about the best projects you've worked on.
Well, I have to laugh because when people say to me, oh, you're a voice actor? Let me hear something. What would you have done? And I look at them and go, well, nothing.
Yeah, I sound like me.
Because I can't think of a major TV commercial that's airing right now.
Mhm.
Last year I did on one of the HGTV shows, I did 3 Honda spots, which was pretty cool, but they didn't air in Canada, so I never saw them.
Mhm.
So sometimes, many times, I don't see what I do. I don't get the final product of what I do.
Mhm.
I do
Yeah.
a lot of e-learning, oddly
Okay.
enough, mainly because I think because I did a lot of e-learning. When I was in construction, there was a lot of safety things and a
Mhm.
lot of procedural videos that I listened to that it was really hard to listen to.
Uh-huh.
We got to the point where every January we had to redo our, safety stuff, and we'd all hit go and go get coffee because when you came back, it was over because it was just too
It's
hard
not
to
easy
listen
like
to.
that anymore. You
No,
can't
I
do
know.
that
They make you answer questions and hit go,
anymore.
which is great. I agree with that. Part of it is when I do it, I'm able to understand what I'm doing and make you sound like I know what I'm talking about
Mhm.
and engage you in the conversation.
Right.
So hopefully, you don't get bored after 20 minutes. You actually learn something, which
Right.
I take pride in. Um,
Mhm.
one of the other great things I did was, because it's different, I did a video game trailer where I had this really strange voice, which is not something I normally do, but had the
Mhm.
opportunity to do. There was a commercial on YouTube years ago that, for anyone interested can go to my website. They'll eventually find it, on my YouTube playlist kind of thing, where I sang as a little 4-year-old girl. And it's, again, not something I normally do, but can do and had the opportunity to. I get a lot of work as a British person because
Mhm.
my mother was British, so I sound like her. So I had a mechanic who said, hey, I heard you were narrating this TV show. And there was a TV show in Canada that aired for a year called The People's Couch. And I was the one that
Mhm.
introduced, like a reality show type thing, right?
Mhm.
Coming up
Yep.
next kind of thing. And my mechanic said, I've been watching this show for 4 weeks. I'm really getting into it, but when am I going to hear you? And I said, I'm the narrator, but I'm British. And they went, that's you? So even when I do things, people don't know it's me, which is kind of fun. But
Yeah.
specifically one thing, can't tell you.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. There's like so many, different projects you get to work on. Like for me in e-learning, I do stuff all the time. Sometimes I do like what you were talking about, that kind of a little bit more boring, procedural, or compliance based or anything. But then I get to create like a game or something, and it's you like everything for a different reason.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
what's interesting is I go to voiceover conferences where I get to meet other talent. I get to meet producers. I get to meet people from studios. We learn the ins and outs of the business. We talk about the technical, the marketing, the whole gamut of the industry. But
Mhm.
along the road, I have met people like Porky Pig. I have met, who is Bob Bergen, and I have heard speak people like Lily Tomlin, Bart
Mhm.
Simpson, who is a grandmother of two. Like, it's just so fascinating to meet these people in person. And they're just
Right.
everyday people. Now, if you ask them what they did, they could
Uh-huh.
tell you.
Right.
I know a very, very famous voice actor who nobody would know his name, but he's the voice of 4,000 different characters.
Oh my
But nobody
goodness.
knows who he is.
Right. Right. And it's like they're the behind the scenes type of people, so
Hmm
you don't know
Which
who they
means
are.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which means you can walk down the street and nobody says, "Oh, you just go. I'm just grocery shopping."
Exactly, exactly. Well, we're getting to the end of our time. So is there anything that you would want to tell people who are listening?
I think the most important thing that I wanted to get involved, even from the start of the request to being interviewed, is the fact that if you're running your own business, you have to treat it like a business. You have to
Mhm.
know you are the accountant, you are the switchboard, you are the gatekeeper, you are the marketing professional, you are also the professional that does what you do. And everything you say to everybody you meet reflects your business.
Mhm.
So never stop learning and never stop treating your business like a business. It's important to try and find work-life balance, especially for people with children who live at home, but even for your own downtime, even to just walk away and say, hey, I'm taking a holiday. I don't get paid vacation, but I'm taking a day off.
Mhm.
And it's important to remember all those things when running a business, that it doesn't matter what you do for a living. It could be, digging a hole or, flying to the moon. You need your time and you need your business time.
Yeah.
And you have to focus on each one separately and wholeheartedly. And that's
Yeah.
really the most important thing to me.
Excellent. Well, it was very nice chatting with you today and getting to know you more. And I will look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you, Brianne. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.